अस्सलाम वालेकुम। आप लोगों को मेरी आवाज आ रही है?
जी आ रही है जी, बिल्कुल आ रही है।
ठीक है, बस मेरा ख्याल है 2-3 मिनट रुक जाते हैं स्टार्ट करने के कुछ एक दो पार्टिसिपेंट्स की तरफ से फीडबैक आ रहा था कि शायद वो लिंक सही नहीं है। मेरा तो लिंक वर्क कर रहा था, बट आप लोगों ने भी जो शेयर की है लिंक, उसको प्लीज डबल चेक कर लीजिएगा, क्योंकि मुझे ऐसा लग रहा है कोई इशू ना हो। ऑलरेडी 17 पार्टिसिपेंट्स तो ज्वाइन कर चुके हैं।
या बोले हो गया। सॉरी, अब लिंक जो है एक्टिव है, काइंडली मैं रिक्वेस्ट कीजिएगा कि आप ज्वाइन कर लें, इंशाल्लाह ज्वाइन हो जाएंगे।
ठीक है।
हो गए।
मेरा ख्याल है स्टार्ट करें।
बिस्मिल्लाह।
बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। कुल हुवल्लाहु अहद अल्लाहु समद लम यलिद वलम यूलद वलम यकुल लहू कुफुवन अहद। सदकल्लाहुल अलीयुल अज़ीम। Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. On behalf of Insight Securities, I would like to welcome you all to the corporate briefing session of Ghani Global Holdings Limited. With us, we have Mr. Atiq Ahmed Khan, Mr. Zubair Siddiqui, the CFO, Mr. Asim Mahmood, and Company Secretary, Mr. Farzand, and the management team of Ghani Global Holdings. We have introduced the management before and the management change at the group before as well. So I would now directly hand over the mic to the team itself to take you through the presentation.
जी थोड़ी सी मैं प्रोडक्शन कर दूं। मसूद अहमद खान साहब, चीफ एग्जीक्यूटिव ऑफिसर।
My apologies, sincere apologies for that. Thank you for correcting me, and Masood Saab, my apologies once again.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome you all on Ghani Global Holding corporate briefing today. Let me explain the group structure of Ghani Global Group. Ghani Global Holdings Limited is a holding company of three companies, namely Ghani Chemical Industries Limited, Ghani Chemworld Limited, and Ghani Global Glass Limited. Further, Ghani Chemical Industry has got two wholly owned subsidiaries. Number one is Ghani Gases Private Limited and Ghani Energies Limited. This is a comparison of key financial metrics of Ghani Global Holdings. Standalone accounts. Sales were around 115 million as compared to 204 million in 2024. Net sales was 96 million as against 171 million. Cost of goods sold was 94 million this year as against 157 million last year. Gross profit for the year this year was 1 million as against 13 million last year. Distribution, admin, and other expenses were 193 million as against 31 million in 2024. Profit from operation was 194 million as against 45 million in 2024. Financial charges were 12 million as against 10 million last year, and profit before tax was 182 million as against 35 million last year. Taxation provision for taxation was 33 million as against 10 million, and profit after tax was 149 million as against 24 million in 2024. Earning per share was 0.421 this year and 0.069 in last year. This is the financial position of Ghani Global Holdings Limited. Number of shares are 354 million. Last year the same number was there, and equity stand at 3.961 billion as against 3.811 billion. Non-current liabilities are 61 billion, and previous year these were 127 billion. Total equity and liabilities were 4021 billion as against 3.938 billion. Non-current assets were 3.581 billion and same figure was in last year. And current assets were 441 million as against 357 million. Total assets stood at 4021 billion as against 3.938 billion in 2024. These are the consolidated results of Ghani Global Holdings. Gross sales increased from 9.355 billion to 12.131 billion. Net sale rose from 7.919 billion to 10.337 billion. Cost of goods sold was 6.168 billion in 2025, whereas it was 5.743 billion in financial year 2024. Gross profit stood at 4.169 billion as against 2.176 billion. Distribution, admin, and other expenses and income were 1.342 billion as against expenses of 143 million in 2024. Profit from operation was 5.511 billion as against 2.03 billion. Financial charges were 599 million as against 558 million last year. Profit before taxation was 4.9 billion as against 1.475 billion. Provision for taxation was 705 million as against 509 million in 2024, and profit after tax was 4.206 billion as against 935 million in 2024. Earning per share rose to 8.97 per share as against 1.48 in last year. Financial position of consolidated accounts, number of shares are still 354 million. Last year the same figure was there. And equity shareholders of holding company, the equity portion attributable to shareholders of holding company was 7.281 billion as against 8.055 billion in 2024. Non-controlling interest share was 7.843 billion, and last year it was 4.890 billion. Total equity stood at 15.123 billion as against 12.945 billion. Non-current liabilities were 3.616 billion as against 3.708 billion. Current liabilities were 6.141 billion as against 4.736 billion. Total liabilities stood at 9.757 billion as against 8.44 billion. Total equity and liabilities were 24.88 billion as against 21.388 billion. Non-current assets were 16.0203 billion as against 14.035 billion, and current assets were 8.677 billion as against 7.353 billion in financial year 2024. There is a graph showing the increase in net sales from year 2022 to year 2025. In year 2022, net sales were 5.646 billion. In year 2023, it rose to 6.324 billion. In year 24, it increased to 7.919 billion, and in year 2025, it increased to 10.337 billion. Alhamdulillah. Similarly, gross profit after tax, it increased from 1.06 billion to 4.206 in year 2025. Supplemental of material addition. Net sales were up by 30.6%. Reason behind that was strong sales growth reflecting stronger demand and boosting customer base. This is related to all consolidated accounts of Ghani Global Holding. Cost of goods sold increased up to 7.4% because of higher cost of inputs and rising energy and fuel costs. Gross profit was up 91.5%, one-off increase due to demerger of Ghani Chemworld from Ghani Chemical Industries, because net assets were added to the Ghani Global Holdings balance sheet, and an abnormal item of bargain purchase was emerged. For that matter, the EPS rose to 8.97. Similarly, assets grew by 16.3% expansion consistent with business growth, and total equity strengthened by 16.8% with profit retention. Non-current liabilities decreased by 2.5%. Stable long-term funding position with minor repayments.
Okay, so let me take you through key business risk and mitigation. As you know, this is a holding company. We have only a limited business for some trading of MIG wire and refrigerant gases. So what we have done in terms of MIG wire business, we understand that the risk is primarily on the supply chain and the costing pressures that we have in this product. So what we are doing is that in terms of mitigating, we are strengthening our supply chain and we are looking into diversified sourcing so that we can maintain the margins in this particular segment. For refrigerant business or refrigerant gases, the main risk is around the safety aspect, around toxicity, flammability, leakage, etc. And in order to mitigate those risks, we have put in engineering controls as well as all the necessary compliance which is required as per the best operating practices or as per the regulatory requirements. If we go to the next, now we will briefly go through the group companies, Ghani Chemicals. Let me start with that first. Though we have already gone through it in the previous session, here you can see the brief history where we have explained that how the company has evolved over the years. With the first plant started in 2009 and the latest state-of-the-art plant that we have installed in Hattar in 2025. The key revenue drivers, as we discussed previously as well, the majority of our market is of our revenue is actually from the hospital sector, which is roughly 50% of the market that we have of. And along with that, we have a distributor channel, which is supplying to the general or small scale industry. Then we have a strategic presence in all the main industrial sectors across Pakistan, as well as we have some long-term supply contracts for pipeline customers like Anglo Polymer. Okay, so this is the financial statement for comparison of key financial matrices for GCIL. As you can notice that the net sales increased from 5.4 billion to 7.4 billion. Gross profit is more than double from 1.6 billion to 3.4. Profit before tax is roughly 2.6 billion compared to 1.8 in the last year. And similarly, the EPS have grown from 1.58 to 3.92. EBITDA has grown substantially at 3.3 billion compared to 1.8 billion in 2024. In terms of future prospects, as we also previously in the GCIL session explained that being the newest plant in the Hattar Special Economic Zone, we have the tax exemption along with the state-of-the-art, highly efficient, energy efficient plant. So we expect that we will load it further and we will capture all the value which is available because of cost effectiveness and tax exemptions. We are also expanding into LPG sector, as we explained previously, that we have the plan to for 450 tons of LPG storage and filling plant at the existing Lahore site. OGRA approvals are already in place and licenses are in place. We are waiting for some approvals from explosive department, following which we will proceed with the installation and construction activities at site. The next slide is around the updates on the JV with Maari. I think we have discussed it in detail in the last session. The board have yesterday announced a JV agreement with Maari Energies for capture of cold vent exhaust gases from Sachal Gas Processing Complex. In this new venture, we will be having a 49% share, whereas Maari Energies will have a 51% of shareholding. And this is around two main products. One is LNG and the second is industrial and food grade CO2. Then the second company, which is Ghani Global Glass. For Ghani Global Glass, for nature of business, as you know that we are in the manufacturing and selling of borosilicate neutral glass tubes, ampoules and vials. So our main product is tube, And then we have some value-added product in terms of ampoules and vials as well. We have roughly around 45% of domestic market demand is met through imports, and what we are doing is to load our plant more and more so that we can gain further market share, along with some of the exports that we are targeting in some target countries. In terms of financial matrices for Ghani Global Glass, the sale have risen compared to 2024 from 2.8 billion to 3.4 billion. Net sales 2.4 billion was in 2024, whereas in 2025 it was 2.9 billion. The gross profit have increased from 550 million in 2024 to 755 million in 2025. Whereas the operating profit has risen from 427 million to 643 million. This has translated into an EPS of 1.25 compared to 0.6 in the last year. In terms of glass, the future prospects, as we explained previously, day before yesterday as well, that we have invested heavily in terms of having efficient European machines. So that will increase our profitability and it will also increase our capacity. So what we are looking is to capitalize into these aspects and further increase our market share, not only in the Pakistan market, but we are also targeting some of the other markets, export markets as well. And in that context, Saudi Arabia is a geography which we are focusing heavily, and we are trying to expand our portfolio to the Saudi market as well. Okay, along with the ampoules and vials, we are looking also into the tube export to some of the key European countries. As I think we explained day before yesterday, the key issue in this, let's say, market expansion is the qualification of your product with the pharma companies. So we have already started engaging with some of the potential customers to qualify our products. And as soon as that process is done, we will be, inshallah, going heavily with these export opportunities. The last portion is related to Ghani ChemWorld. I think it was yesterday when we explained this. Alhamdulillah, the plant is already erected. It is under commissioning as we speak. And this plant will be actually, one of the very unique investments which is being done in Pakistan. And it will actually, let's say, fully substitute all the calcium carbide which is being imported into the country. And this plant will have all the necessary, manufacturing standards, whether it is in terms of quality, in terms of safety and environmental regulations. These are the main products that we will be producing from the plant. The top line is actually the primary products, calcium carbide, and you can see calcium carbonate precipitated, which is PCC, and calcium oxide. These will be the products that we will be focusing in phase 1. The other products are actually the derivatives, which will be evaluated separately at a later stage, depending on the market as well as the overall project viability for these particular products. So these are some of the key financial metrics for this Ghani ChemWorld. As you know, that the plant has yet to start commercial operations. I think commercial production will start sometime in December. The plant is already under commissioning. We have Chinese engineers as well as few European engineers at site doing the commissioning. And inshallah, we are expecting that the commercial operation will be sometime during the first 10 days of December. So accordingly, we have no sale recorded in 2025. It's a new company, so there is no comparison to 2024. But we already have incurred some expenses in terms of, general expenses related to selling, admin, and distribution. So there is an operating loss of 12.9 million. But at the same time, we have share of profit from associated company, which is GCIL in this case. So overall profit for this company after taxation is 75.3 million, and earning per share is 1.45. Okay, future prospects. I think we elaborated it the day before yesterday as well, that though it's a new plant, it's a new company, but we are in the same business through Ghani Chemical Industries, from which this company is actually carved out for last 15 years. So the company has a rich history of managing and marketing this product. We were enjoying roughly 45% of market share through GCIL before from the imports, and now we are expecting that with the induction of local product, we will be inshallah capturing the local market up to 90%. We are also looking to export markets, looking at the export markets, so that whatever surplus is available after let's say supplying the local market, we can take it to the export markets. And what we are expecting is that because of the latest technology and the efficient processes that we have in place, as well as the efficient sourcing of raw material, we will be very competitive to let's say market our products in the export markets as well. I think with this we can open the session for Q&A, sir.
Rose, can you please coordinate this session?
Yes, there are a few raised hands. Umar Sarang, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Assalamu alaikum, sir. Thank you for a great briefing. Sir, my question is related to Ghani Global Glass specifically. In your last quarter, you've seen काफी severe margin contraction. So, is there any particular reason behind that? Because given your presentation, it seems that there's more efficient machinery coming in. You're moving down the supply chain. So, shouldn't your margins at least remain sustainable?
बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम जी, ये लास्ट जो क्वार्टर था हमारा सितंबर का, इसमें कई एबनॉर्मल चीज़ें जो हैं विटनेस की हमने। उसमें एक जो मेजर फैक्टर था वो था हमारा फ्लड का, और फिर अफगानिस्तान बॉर्डर और कुछ जंग के असरात थे, जिसकी वजह से सप्लाई चेन भी डिस्टर्ब हुई और हमारी सेल्स में भी उस पर फ़र्क पड़ा। तो गोइंग फॉर फिर हमारी फर्नेस की वो रीबिल्ड हमने की थी, उसकी आपके नॉलेज में है कि 3 से 4 साल बाद उसकी रीबिल्ड भी हो जाता है, रिफर्बिशमेंट उसकी करनी पड़ती है, जो कि हमारी लास्ट क्वार्टर में ही जो दोबारा जो है इन प्लेस हुई और उस पर हमने प्रोडक्शन स्टार्ट की। तो इन सारे फैक्टर की वजह से हमारी जो सेल्स थोड़े से इफेक्ट हुई हैं, और ये थोड़ा सा सिलसिला भी चल रहा है कुछ मार्केट के हालात के हवाले से, और गोइंग फॉरवर्ड उम्मीद है कि इंशाल्लाह आगे जाके हालात बेहतर हो जाएंगे।
Sir, तो पहले आपके margins at the gross level in this company used to be around 25%, and in this last quarter we've seen it at about 18%. Would I be correct in assuming that you are going to now start reverting back to the average, or is there going to be a bit more of a prolonged competitive phase as you delve into new product lines?
Inshallah, there will be improvement in coming quarters, inshallah ta'ala. We'll achieve better margin in coming quarters, inshallah.
Okay, thank you, sir. Sir, my last question here, as you're moving into vials and ampoules, are you facing a lot of pushback in terms of price competition from the existing players?
Actually, in this market, we have a very high competition from the Chinese product, but we are trying to innovate and, producing the quality which is what market requires. So, Chinese product is actually one of the main, let's say, threat for us. And as I said, I think in the beginning as well, that we are trying to keep ourselves, changing and keep ourselves updating, so that we supply the quality to the market which is required by the market, rather than we give them something which is much higher than their requirements. So this is something that we are doing. We are innovating and we are updating ourselves just to make sure that we remain competitive in that market as well.
Sir, in the long term, is it actually feasible for you to completely push out the Chinese product, or will they always retain some market share because of some specific product lines?
No, I think it will be difficult to completely push them out, because the scales that they have in their manufacturing, it will be very difficult for us to eliminate them completely from the market.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Haris Saab, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
जी अस्सलाम वालेकुम जी, मेरी आवाज़ आ रही
जी बिल्कुल आ रही है, बताइए।
आपने सऊदी अरब के हवाले से प्लान का जिक्र किया था, तो ये ज़रा बताते हैं कि आप कब तक ये इस्टेब्लिश हो जाएगा और ये किस रीजन में?
सऊदी अरब के हवाले से जो हमने डिस्कस किया वो ये बताया आपको कि हम इस वक्त कुछ पोटेंशियल प्रोजेक्ट्स पे काम कर रहे हैं फॉर ग्लास, एंड सऊदी इज वन ऑफ द मार्केट्स के जिसको हम एक्सप्लोर कर रहे हैं. सो देर आर फ्यू options on the table which we are trying to finalize, and as soon as there is something, let's say concrete, it will be inshallah made public.
तो ये ग्लास एम्प्यूल्स और वाइल्स वाली साइड पे ही आप देख रहे होंगे जो आप कह रहे हैं सऊदी में।
नहीं जी, देखें सऊदी में हम तो मुख्तलिफ एंगल्स पे काम कर रहे हैं. उसके अंदर ग्लास इज वन ऑफ द एरिया कि जिसको हम देख रहे हैं. देर आर अदर businesses as well which we are exploring for Middle Eastern, especially Saudi market. And as I said, we will make information public as soon as we have something concrete.
Thank you. I don't see any more raised hand. There are some other questions. In previous sessions, you have highlighted about truck segment business and going into REIT. Can you shed some light on that?
Awesome, sir. This REIT and trucking.
Yes, we have initiated a new venture in our Ghani Global Holdings. We have put on some crawlers for our import and export of calcium carbide and raw material of calcium carbide. And it is yet to start. As you know, that Ghani Chem World is yet to start its production. And once the production is in place, our trawlers will be on road and they would be definitely earning revenue. And this revenue stream would be coming in Ghani Global Holdings.
What is the total cost of these trucks, and is it commercially viable, or it is just between two sister companies for efficiency, or you are expected to gain some return on it?
Total project cost around 450 to 500 million. We plan to indulge 16 dollars, and we have got some partner right from this area who is also running a transport business. He is a partner, and he's right now running the show.
And just to answer your question, yes, it will be competitive. Everything will be done on market competitive basis.
Okay. And any update on REIT business?
Which business, sorry?
REIT.
Real estate. It is just on papers right now. We'll make it public when something happens, inshallah.
Do you have any property in sight for this, or it is just in initial phases?
Initial phase.
Shoaib Khan Saab, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
जी सर अस्सलाम वालेकुम। मेरा क्वेश्चन ट्रैकिंग के बिजनेस से रिलेटेड ही था। सो व्हाट काइंड ऑफ आईआरआर यू आर एक्सपेक्टिंग इन दैट बिजनेस?
देखिए ये जो है ट्रकिंग का बिजनेस का कॉन्सेप्ट थोड़ा समझिएगा। असल में हम जो कैल्शियम कार्बाइड का प्रोजेक्ट हमने लगाया है, इसके रॉ मटेरियल पे एक मेन कंपोनेंट कोक का है और कोक इंपोर्ट होता है। और जब इंपोर्ट होता है तो ऑल द वे वो कराची पोर्ट या पोर्ट कासिम से ट्रैवल करता हुआ केपीके में जाना है। उसमें अच्छी खासी ट्रांसपोर्टेशन कॉस्ट इनलैंड की इनकर होती है। इस तरह इसमें जैसे हमने पहले भी बताया अपनी मीटिंग और प्रेजेंटेशन के अंदर भी, कैल्शियम कार्बाइड में एक सब्सटेंशियल पोर्शन जो एक्सपोर्ट्स का भी है। तो फिर जब हमारी फिनिश गुड प्रोडक्ट बन जाएगी तो उसमें फिर ट्रैवल करना है ऑल द वे फ्रॉम केपीके पासिंग थ्रू पंजाब टू सिंध एंड कराची पोर्ट और पोर्ट कासिम। तो इस टू साइड ट्रांसपोर्टेशन में अच्छी खासी कॉस्ट इनकर हो रही है। आइडिया ये था कि इसमें हम अपने एक सेटअप डेवलप करें जिससे हमारी यानी उस एरिया के जो एक्सपर्ट्स हैं उनको साथ मिला के एक फ्लीट डेवलप किया जाए और बजाय इसके हम आउटसोर्स करें, उस फ्लीट को यूटिलाइज करें और जो मार्जिन है हमारे वो गनी ग्लोबल होल्डिंग में पार्ट हो। ये उसका कॉन्सेप्ट है।
जी जी बिल्कुल, वो कॉन्सेप्ट तो बिल्कुल समझ में आ गया सर, बट मैं ये पूछ रहा था उससे कॉस्ट सेविंग होगी, डेफिनेटली कुछ आप सेव करेंगे। सो
कॉस्ट सेविंग भी होगी और जो प्रॉफिट अगर कोई होगा, अर्निंग होगी, वो बाहर नहीं जा रही होगी, वो दूसरी जो कंपनी है उसी में पार्क हो रही होगी। ये दो बेनिफिट होंगे।
Okay, thank you.
Any other question that
No, there are no more raised hands or questions
okay,
in chat.
I have two questions if you would like to answer. Um, First of all, do you think that locating the plant in Hattar of Ganichem World and transporting coke from the port to Hattar and then the finished product back to port for exports, do you think wouldn't it have been better had the plant been situated somewhere in the southern region, or you think there is a material cost benefit to you by locating that plant in Hatar, except the tax advantage that you have?
Yeah. I think as you rightly said, tax advantage is one primary thing. Second thing is the coke is just one raw material. There is another raw material that is limestone. So that is also transportation of limestone is also something which is one of the considerations. Second, these plants are highly energy intensive plants. So energy intensive plants means that the total power requirement is high, and what we are trying to do is to let's say shift as much as possible our day requirement to the solar. So the opportunities which are on offer here in this area from the land perspective and others are much more means the business case becomes much more attractive if we opt for an area like Qatar.
Okay. One last thing is that Ghani Global Holdings is now a primarily holding company. As you have seen, most of the holding companies, because of double taxation, are now converting back to their own or relinquishing the holding company status. So you guys have historically given out specie dividend of Ghani Chemical Industries, and obviously all more recent example is GCIL giving specie dividend of GCWL to its shareholders. So do you think now there is a commercial, it makes a commercial sense to run a holding company? Because of course now your companies are in growth phase, and you have basically inshallah in future will be paying out dividends to shareholders. So just being a holding company per se at the moment, Ghani Global Holdings, isn't it a tax inefficient structure because of the changes in the law that the government has done? You guys, have you guys thought about it to relinquish this status or maybe make it more tax efficient?
You are right. This is very unfortunate that the taxation structure is in such a way that we are attracted to double taxation holding company structure. But this is not logical and rational structure. Ideally, there should not be any double taxation in such kind of setups, and we hope that such structure would be revised by the government. And there are many petitions lying with the government to change the structure so that double taxation may not be attracted to holding companies. And we are very much hopeful about it.
आसिम साहब, वो तो बात ठीक है कि होप तो हमें छोड़नी नहीं चाहिए, लेकिन आप देखें, मैं आपको सिर्फ मैं ये क्वेश्चन नहीं है, एक सजेशन है। आप देखें बेसिकली कि इस वक्त पूरे एंग्रो ग्रुप ने जो है इसको ऑप्ट आउट किया है, और वो उन्होंने अपनी कंपनीज को कुछ डबल टैक्सेशन स्ट्रक्चर के चक्कर में एलिमिनेट किया। एफएफबीएल का मर्जर हो गया एफएफसी के साथ। एफएफबीएल जो डिविडेंड दिया करता था एफएफसी को, तो वो अब ऑब्वियसली उनको मर्ज कर दिया है। तो मेरा आप लोगों को सजेशन ये था कि आप लोग भी इस बारे में सोचें, और आप आई एम श्योर आप लोग सोच रहे होंगे, बट ये सब होल्डिंग कंपनीज के साथ मसाइल है, और इसको बेसिकली इसका जो है आप स्पीशी डिविडेंड दे के अपने जो शेयर होल्डर्स हैं उनको आप डायरेक्टली अगर उन कंपनीज के शेयर्स दे दें, तो फिर जो इन फ्यूचर वो कंपनीज डिविडेंड्स दिया करेंगी तो उनको डबल टैक्सेशन नहीं लगेगा, क्योंकि शेयर होल्डर्स डायरेक्टली उनको ओन करेंगे। और आप लोग तो ये कर चुके हैं सबसे पहले, आप लोग तो 51% स्पीशी डिविडेंड के थ्रू बांट ही चुके हैं। तो आई थिंक यू गाइस वेरी गुड आइडिया अबाउट इट। सो ये एक सजेशन थी, प्लीज कीप दैट इन माइंड। ऑन दिस नोट, I think we don't have any other questions on the chat box. Thank you so much for your time. It's been an exhaustive session for the last 3 days. And the Ghani Global Group has been basically very receptive to the questions being asked by the analyst community and the shareholders in general. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you to all the participants who took the
Thank you,
time out,
Ji.
and look
Allah
forward to
Hafiz.
seeing you again. Allah
Allah
Hafiz.
Hafiz.